Buenas tardes, alumnos, fieles alumnos, faithful students. I believe that we were beginning the vocabulary section, page 340, in lesson 17. Lección 17. If you are in agreement, please acknowledge in the comments section of your screen, please.
So we've got 5 people on.
Okay,
But I'm not sure.
5 people. Can you please identify yourselves in the comments section?
It says 9 people, so we might just have to roll with it, and hopefully they soon start commenting.
Okay, everyone so far is anonymous to me. I hope my standard class is present. Ed, Tony, Craig, Ramon. I am on page 340 at the section called Vocabulario, new words, and actually new expressions. Echar literally means to throw, but it can also mean different things in other idioms and other contexts. Carlos echó su papel por la ventana. Charlie threw his paper through the window. Los muchachos echaron agua encima del fuego. The kids, or the boys, or the children threw water on top of the fire, or on the fire, depending on how you want to interpret it in English. Encima de means on top of. Juan y Pepe echaron a Silvia en el agua. Juan y Pepe, that's John and Joe in English, echaron a Silvia en el agua. They threw Sylvia into the water. Notice that personal a before Silvia. She's the object of the verb echar. Roberto se echó sobre la cama y se durmió. There we have the reflexive. Se echó sobre la cama. He threw himself, literally, on the bed, on top of the bed. Y se durmió, and he fell asleep. Dormir means to sleep. Dormirse means to fall asleep. El niño robó la manzana y echó a correr por la calle. The kid stole the apple and took off running. Echó a correr. He threw himself into a run, you might say, to go back to the basic meaning of echar. He took off running. Echó a correr por la calle. Down the street, along the street. Echaron al borracho del restaurante. Now that's a great word, borracho. Means drunk. They threw the drunk out of the restaurant. Questions? Please post in the comment section your questions or your comments. Next word, soñar, to dream. And I think we pointed out that soñar uses a specific preposition with it. In English, we dream about something, but in Spanish, you dream with it. So the preposition is con. Pepito sueña con su novia todas las noches. Joey dreams about his girlfriend every night. Ramón sueña con el coche que va a comprar. Ray is dreaming about the car he's going to buy. Anoche yo soñé con el trabajo que había hecho durante el día. Here we have some compound tenses. Anoche yo soñé, straightforward preterite, con el trabajo que había hecho. Había hecho is the past perfect. So last night I dreamed about the work I had done during the day. Muchos alumnos saben soñar despiertos. Many students know how to daydream, we'll say. Literally to dream while awake. Alberto dice que nunca sueña. Albert says he never dreams. Rafael sueña en colores. Rafael dreams in color. Cumplir quiere decir realizar o efectuar. Cumplir means to complete, to bring about, to... Juan ha cumplido 20 años. John has become 20 years old. Tiene 20 años. He is 20 years old. Two different ways to say it. Roberto todavía no ha cumplido su servicio militar. Robert has not yet, todavía no, not yet, completed his military service, su servicio militar. Ana promete mucho, pero no cumple con sus promesas. Anna promises a lot, but she doesn't fulfill, we'll have to say. She doesn't really complete. She doesn't fulfill her promises. Trini espera cumplir todos sus deseos. And Trini hopes to realize, we shall say, all of her dreams. Nevar is to snow. In Alaska, nieva mucho durante el invierno. In Alaska, it snows a lot in the winter. Nieva mucho sobre la Sierra Nevada en el invierno y es posible ver la nieve desde Granada. The Sierra Nevada is a mountain range to the east of the city of Granada, and it's named the Sierra Nevada. Nevada means essentially snowed on or snowy, so that's why it's named that. Nieva algunas veces en el sur de los Estados Unidos. Sometimes it snows in the southern United States, pero nunca nieva en Los Angeles. But it never snows in Los Angeles. Anoche nevaba cuando yo salí de mi casa. Last night it was snowing when I left my house. Those are fairly straightforward. Now, we have some words here that use the reflexive. So, enamorar means to enamor or to make fall in love. Okay. Enamorarse means to fall in love. And when you fall in love with someone or something, it's enamorarse de. So, Eduardo está enamorado de Consuelo. Ed is enamored or in love with Consuelo. Y viceversa, and vice versa. Consuelo está enamorada de Eduardo. Notice that Eduardo está enamorado and Consuelo está enamorada. Consuelo, despite the ending of that word, it's a woman's name. Algún día los dos van a casarse. Someday, both of them are going to get married to each other. Casarse. Chucho aún no se ha enamorado de nadie. Chucho has not fallen in love with anyone, pero está enamorado de su nueva motocicleta. He's in love with his new motorcycle. Al principio Alicia no estaba enamorada de Felipe, pero Felipe la enamoró. In the beginning, Alice was not enamored. She wasn't in love with Philip. But Philip enamored her. He made her fall in love. How's that? That's a powerful ability. Vestirse is to get dressed or be dressed. So, todas las mañanas Armando se levanta temprano. Every day Armando gets up early. Se baña en la ducha. Okay, se baña, he bathes himself, literally of course, en la ducha, in the shower. Y se viste elegantemente, and he dresses himself, or he gets dressed elegantly. Anita se viste bien porque estudia la moda y tiene buen gusto. Anita dresses well because she studies fashion and she has good taste. A los niños les gusta vestirse como los grandes. Children like to dress up the way older people do, the big people. Anoche Jaime se vistió de vagabundo para la fiesta cómica que hizo Elena. Last night, Jim or James got dressed up as a vagabond, a beggar, whichever, for the comic festival that Elena was putting on, or put on. So we have some questions here that you would need to answer. But you got to understand the question first. ¿Qué haría usted para apagar un incendio? Haría is a new tense. It's a conditional tense. Hacer, of course, means to do or to make. Haría means would you, in this case, do. What would you do to apagar, to put out un incendio, a fire? And they put in parentheses un fuego. So what's the difference between incendio y fuego? Generally, incendio is an unintentional fire, and fuego is one that's set on purpose and controlled. ¿A usted le gusta echar piropos a las chicas bonitas? Do you like to echar piropos? What are piropos? They're compliments or nice things to say, usually nice things, to pretty girls. Do you like to echar piropos? Do you like to say nice things to pretty girls? ¿Le han echado alguna vez de un lugar público? The le there is understood to mean a usted. So have they ever thrown you out of a public place? Alguna vez means sometime, ever in this case. ¿Echa usted de vez en cuando una mirada a las minifaldas? Echar here meaning not to throw, but to cast. Do you ever, once in a while, do you cast a glance at the mini skirts? So this is practice in this new vocabulary. So echar is one used here. Echar piropos. Le han echado de un lugar público. Eche usted una mirada. So means to throw or to cast. Or toss. Any questions on these? Nothing yet. ¿Con quién sueña usted todas las noches? Now, you might think that means with whom, but it means of whom in this case, because soñar uses the preposition con. ¿Sueña usted en español? ¿Qué sueño soñaba usted anoche? What dream were you dreaming last night? Sueño meaning the noun, and soñaba the imperfect of soñar. ¿Con quién soñaba usted anoche? Oh, the first one was ¿Qué sueño soñaba usted? What dream were you dreaming? And con quién soñaba, with about whom were you dreaming? Pretty sure you have lesson 17. Is that correct? I want to make sure you're following me on the text. Does anyone not have lesson 17? Okay, so everyone does.
We're good.
I think the virus, even though you may not catch it, it certainly is making things harder to remember, for me at least. So I didn't remember if I had passed it out. I'm glad I have. Number 3. Número 3. ¿Cuántos años ha cumplido usted? Literally, that's how many years have you completed? But it really is, how old are you? ¿Ha cumplido usted su servicio militar? Have you completed or have you served your military service? ¿Cuándo lo cumplirá? There we go, the future tense. When will you finish it? When will you complete it? ¿Cumplirá usted todos sus deseos? Will you realize? Will you complete in that sense? Will you realize? Will you fulfill todos sus deseos, all your desires? ¿Cumple usted con sus promesas? Do you fulfill your promises? ¿En qué año cumplirá usted 60 años? Well, if you're a member of the Senior Center, you have completed 60 years. You have become 60. Número 4. ¿Nieva mucho en su ciudad durante el verano? No nieva en Hagerstown en el verano. ¿Cuándo nieva en su ciudad? En nuestra ciudad nieva en el invierno. ¿Hay nieve en Maracaibo? Maracaibo? You know where that is? That's on the coast of Venezuela. I'm pretty sure. Get my map. We don't have Maracaibo on the South American map. Okay, so en Pico Bolívar, nieva en Pico Bolívar, Pico meaning the peak, And Bolivar must refer to a Venezuelan mountain. So we'll assume that, yes, nieva en Pico Bolívar. In Cusco, that's a city in Colombia. In La Paz, that's Bolivia. ¿A usted le gusta la nieve? Do you like snow? Para poder esquiar, ¿qué hace falta? Hace falta la nieve. Número 5. ¿Cuántas veces se ha enamorado usted? How many times have you fallen in love? ¿De quién se ha enamorado usted? With whom did you fall in love? Literally, of whom have you been enamored? Okay? To understand the enamorarse. ¿No quiere usted enamorarse nunca? Don't you ever want to fall in love? ¿Cómo se comporta una persona enamorada? How does a person in love behave? ¿Ha intentado usted enamorar a alguien? Have you tried to make someone fall in love with you? Number 6. ¿Cómo se viste una persona enamorada? How does a person in love dress? ¿A qué hora se viste usted todos los días? What time do you get dressed every day? ¿Cómo se vistió usted ayer? How did you dress yesterday? ¿En qué estilo prefiere usted vestirse? In what style or form do you prefer to get dressed? ¿Cómo se viste usted en la playa? How do you dress on the beach? En la iglesia, in church, en el gimnasio, in the gym. You should make yourself capable of answering those questions with that verb form, enamorarse de, or me visto de. Then we come to the new section of grammar, Gramática, page 342. We covered the subjunctive in the present when someone wants someone to do something, or when someone advises someone to do something, or when somebody doubts something. Now, those are all present subjunctive. The past subjunctive is different. It goes with the past tense in the main part, in the indicative. So, first conjugation, AR verbs. First example. Ana quería, Ana wanted, que yo hablara con ella, that I speak with her. In English, we would just make that a prepositional, an infinitive phrase. Ana wanted me to talk with her. But in Spanish, it has to be, Ana wanted that I speak with her. In other words, that's the way you would use the subjunctive in English. We don't do it that way in English very often. Ana, que tú hablaras con ella. Ana wanted you to talk with her, or wanted that you speak with her. So hablara, hablaras, hablara. Those are the endings in the past subjunctive. AR verbs. Ana quería que nosotros habláramos con ella. She wanted us to talk to her. She wanted that we talk to her. In other words, to be more literal about the subjunctive. Ana quería que vosotros hablarais con ella. Anna wanted you all, tú y tú y tú y tú, to talk to her. Ana quería que ustedes hablaran con ella. Ana quería que you all, we'll say, speak with her. So, when someone wants someone else to do something, as you're used to in the present tense, you use the subjunctive. And in the past tense, if the main verb is in the past, the subjunctive will be in the past tense. Next group. Mi padre me aconsejó que estudiara. Aconsejar is to give consejos, which is advice. So, mi padre me aconsejó, my father advised me, que estudiara, that I study. Literally. Or he advised me to study in a more fluent English. Tu padre te aconsejó que estudiaras. Your father advised you that you study or to study. Notice we're using the subjunctive of the AR verb in the dependent clause. Su padre le aconsejó que estudiara. His father advised him to study, or that he study. Nuestro padre nos aconsejó que estudiáramos. Our father advised us that we study, or for us to study. Vuestro padre os aconsejó que estudiarais. Y'all's father advised y'all that y'all study. You see, Southern comes in handy sometimes. It's a lot better than just saying you. Su padre les aconsejó que estudiaran. Their father advised them that they study. Now, the su, of course, you don't know what that is until you get to the rest of the sentence. The les, of course, is plural. So, su padre les aconsejó que estudiaran. Their father advised them that they study. Or your father advised you, plural, that you study. Because usted and ustedes use third-person forms of the verb. As you are now well acquainted, but it's true in the subjunctive as well as in the indicative. So notice that there's this less direct, more emotional tone to the main clause that indicates that you're going to use a subjunctive. Anna wanted somebody to do something, and the father advises that somebody do something. And Pepe dudaba, he doubts, okay? Pepe dudaba que me acostara temprano. Pepe doubted that I went to bed early. Pepe dudaba que te acostaras temprano. Pepe doubted that you went to bed early. Pepe dudaba que se acostara temprano. Pepe dudaba that he or she or usted went to bed early. Pepe dudaba que nos acostáramos temprano. Notice the accent there on acostáramos. You're going to have the ara syllables repeated. Pepe doubted that we went to bed early. Pepe dudaba que os acostarais temprano. Pepe doubted that you all, tú, went to bed early. The familiar, not the ustedes form. And similar to the ustedes is the third person. Pepe dudaba que ellos se acostaran temprano. Pepe doubted that they went to bed early. So we have in the AR verbs ara, aras, ara, aramos, arais, aran as endings. Those will repeat. Those patterns will repeat for all the AR verbs. Then we get the second and third conjugations, the ER and IR. Fortunately, they have the same endings. And that ending is yera. So, el médico insistió en que yo comiera más. The doctor insisted that I eat more. That's a strange doctor in my case, but guess it's a skinny patient. El médico insistió que tú comieras más. The doctor insisted that you eat more. El médico insistió que Ana comiera más. He insisted that Anna eat more. Page 343. También insistió, he also insisted, que nosotros comiéramos más, that we eat more. Insistió en que, notice, with insistir, the preposition used is en. We might say in English, insist on, okay? Insistió en que comierais más. He insisted that y'all, familiar, eat more. Insistió en que comieran más, either ustedes or they, ellos. So we have somebody wants something to do something, somebody advises somebody doubts something, somebody insists something, somebody requests, okay? José me pidió que le escribiera. Joe requested me that I write him. In other words, Joe requested me to write him, we could say in English. Just use a prepositional phrase. José te pidió que le escribieras. Joe asked you to write him. José requested that you write him. Tú. José le pidió que le escribiera. José asked him or her or usted to write him. Notice that the first le means you or him. And the second le refers back to José, the subject. So, if we look at that third example, José asked him to write him. It's not the same him. José asked him, the person who is being asked, to write him, José, who's doing the asking. Takes a little bit of analysis to put that one together. José nos pidió que le escribiéramos. Joe asked us to write him. José requested that we write him. Requested us to write him. José os pidió que le escribierais. José asked y'all, tú, that you, plural, write him. And José les pidió que le escribieran. José asked either them or ustedes, we don't know which in this case, que le escribieran. Again, usted and ustedes are going to use the same form as a third person. And we've discussed why that is, because the source, if you don't remember, the source of usted was an abbreviation for vuestra merced, which means your grace. So, in that last example, José requested that your graces write him. That's why it's using a third person form of the verb. Okay, we have some changes that undergo in the root of certain verbs, particularly in this case the third conjugation, meaning IR verbs. Okay, the verb we're talking about here in the first place is seguir. S-E-G-U-I-R. Where the U, you remember, is silent. So that preserves the hard G sound before the sound of the letter I, the E sound. El profesor quería que yo siguiera practicando. The professor wanted that I keep on practicing, or I continue to practice. Continue practicing. Seguir means to follow and to continue, depending on how you want to translate it. So the professor wanted me, que yo, wanted that I keep practicing. The next one, el profesor quería que tú siguieras practicando. The professor wanted you to keep practicing. And then they don't repeat the profesor because we don't need to. Quería que él siguiera practicando. He wanted him to keep practicing. Quería que siguiéramos practicando. He wanted us to keep practicing. He wanted that we keep practicing, so to speak, more literally. Quería que siguierais practicando. That you all, vosotros, that is the familiar plural of tú. Quería que siguieran practicando, either the understood subject of the practicar, seguir practicando, is either ellos or ustedes. The next set, no fue necesario. It wasn't necessary. No fue necesario que yo durmiera mucho. It wasn't necessary for me to sleep a lot. It was not necessary that I sleep a lot, in other words. No fue necesario que durmieras mucho. It's not necessary for you to sleep much. No fue necesario que él durmiera mucho. Not necessary for him to sleep much. No fue necesario que durmiéramos mucho. Wasn't necessary that we sleep a lot. No fue necesario que durmierais mucho. Was not necessary that you all sleep a lot. And no fue necesario que durmieran mucho. Not necessary for them to sleep much or for ustedes, the you plural, formal. So, we have some irregular forms. We use the same ending, but sometimes the root changes. There's a lot of them. You'll see 3-4 pages worth. Okay? These have to just be memorized. The only thing that really has to be memorized, though, is the stem of this. So the endings will be the same. Let's look at the bottom of page 343. For dar, it's diera. That's the imperfect subjunctive of dar, okay? Estar is estuviera. Andar, for some reason, uses anduviera. It has the UV like the verb tener has TUV, tuviera, which is the last one at the bottom of page 345. So you'll see that similarity there between andar and tener. So what my advice is that you cement in your mind, okay, what is this verb? This verb is dar, is to give. And then memorize the forms just by rote. Thinking of yourself, diera, dieras, diera. Diéramos, dierais, dieran. If you need to, you could say yo diera, tú dieras, él diera, usted diera, nosotros diéramos, vosotros dierais, ellos dieran, or ustedes dieran. You really have to do a rehearsal of these things so that they begin to stick in your memory. So we have for estar, estuviera, estuvieras, estuviera, estuviéramos, estuvierais, estuvieran. For andar, which means to walk, anduviera, anduvieras, anduviera, anduviéramos, anduvierais, anduvieran. So, when are we going to use these? We're going to use them after the same kinds of things we just studied in the earlier part of the grammatica. When someone wants someone to do something, when someone advises someone to do something, someone doubts that somebody did something, someone insists that someone does something, someone requests that somebody does something, or someone wants someone to do something, or it's necessary that someone do something. All of these things are either more or less direct or indirect command forms. Okay, some more special forms on page 344, 345, and the top of 346. And that'll cover the waterfront for all of your irregular stems or roots, whichever you like to call them, the first part of the verb. The endings will be the same throughout. You'll notice, however, with a verb like oír on page 345, we know that, and also with leer, the Y comes in order to separate two vowels so that you don't create. The language abhors a triphthong, three vowels in a row. Okay, it does exist, but the language resists having three vowels in a row that blend. So, in the example of leer and creer, where you have two e's together in the infinitive, the Y comes in to separate those into separate syllables, and with oír, a Y comes in to substitute for the I. So, again, read them, pronounce them out loud, and rehearse them. For leer, leyera, leyeras, leyera. Leyéramos, leyerais, leyeran. For creer, creyera, creyeras, creyera. Creyéramos, creyerais, creyeran. You can get tongue-tied the first time through, I'm sure. Just do it slowly. I've had a little more practice, so I don't have to slow down so much. Oyera, for oír, oyera, oyeras, oyera. Oyéramos, oyerais, oyeran. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, we have leyéramos, creyéramos, oyéramos, but we have leyerais, creyerais, and oyerais. Why is there an accent on one of those and not on the other? Because with the first person plural, the amos ending, the stress is on the next to the last syllable. And that's what requires the accent mark. And you'll see that is true of the first person plural in all of these. Going back a page, produjéramos, fuéramos, dijéramos, trajéramos. And then we come to 345, leyéramos, creyéramos, oyéramos. And at the bottom of the page, pudiéramos, pusiéramos, supiéramos, tuviéramos. Look at the photo above that page 345. Remember, this book was published more than 40 years ago. Today, in Spain, bullfighting is much less popular than it was then. There are a few people who still like bullfights, but the vast majority of people do not anymore. In fact, when I was last in Spain, the bull ring in the town I was visiting had a lot of anti-bullfighting graffiti painted on the outside walls. So that's an indication of the change in culture that's taken place. Well, let's go back 40 years and look at this caption. Vamos a los toros. Let's go to the bulls. In other words, los toros stands for the bullfight. Okay, and it's also called La Fiesta Brava. In other words, the wild party, the wild celebration. La Corrida de Toros. Corrida is literally the running, but it's also used to mean the bull ring, where the audience sits around the circle on bleachers that rise up, at least in the large bull rings. In the smaller towns, they just have a few bleachers on one side or the other. But they still have bullfights. They just don't have them as often. And the way people see them now mainly is on television. They watch it on television. The real diehards go to the bullfights but they have to be local. With television, of course, they can see them from towns far away. Okay, vamos a los toros. Let's go to the bullfight. La Fiesta Brava, which is also La Corrida de Toros. Two phrases that mean the same thing. Es la fiesta española por excelencia. It's the Spanish fiesta of excellence. Or, I don't know how to translate that. Aquí uno goza. Here one enjoys admiring, admirando la dignidad del hombre, admiring the dignity of the man, his grace, his beauty, his bravery, and his daring, and his agility, bodily agility, and bodily and spiritual agility, and finally the emotion of the ultimate suerte. Suerte means luck, but in this case means the final result. When I first visited Spain in 1965, of course, the bullfighting was still a big deal. And there was a big festival in the town. It lasted a whole week. So I was treated to 6 or 7 days of bullfights, one a day. Now, a bullfight doesn't mean one matador and one bull. A bullfight is generally 6 bulls and 3 different matadors. They take turns. Desde hace, that means ever since. Desde hace más de 20,000 años, for in 20,000 years, the extraordinary paintings of the Altamira cave you can see in the north of Spain. The Spaniard has felt respect and admiration toward the bull. Nowadays, hoy día, they continue to appreciate the character of the wild bull. There is a city. Is there any city in the Hispanic world that does not have its circular bull ring? Plaza de Toros. Well, they still exist in most towns, but they're not as popular as they used to be. On page 344, you see a picture of that doesn't have a caption so much as just the you can see the crowd in the bleachers in the background. You can see some of the attendants in the behind the first level of barrier, watching, putting their hands up like this to shade the sun. And the bullfighter himself here is he's had the cape in front of the bull, and he pulls it up at the last second, and he shows how brave he is by standing right next to the bull as the bull passes him, and he rubs up against him. So he gets a little bit of the bull's blood on his suit of lights, they call it. Traje de luces. That's a very decorative suit that they wear. You can see a little bit of the decoration on the other page, 345. But these pictures are all in black and white, so you can't really tell why it's called the suit of lights, because it has these reflective pieces to it. Okay, so we're wrapping up. Top of page 346. I want to take the last 5 minutes. I want you to ask questions. Everyone should have at least one question of what we've done. If not, there will be a test. When we get back together, there will be a test, a comprehensive exam. So I encourage each student to go and finish through page 346 and read about phrases with si. Si meaning if. And if can mean two different things. For example, in the present tense, Juan estudia, John studies. Cuando estudia, toma café. When he studies, he drinks coffee. Si Juan estudia, toma café. If John's studying, he's drinking coffee. Now, the other if clause is a contrary to fact. And that's where you get the imperfect subjunctive in its most usual instance. Pepe no estudia. No toma café tampoco. Si Pepe estudiara, if Joey were to study, tomaría café. There's the conditional tense. He would drink coffee. So if Joe were to study, he would drink coffee. There you have the imperfect subjunctive and the conditional tense, and they go together. So study that page 2. And see if you can't figure it out. It's a little dense, I know for you when you get there, but do your best to grab a hold of it mentally, and write down the questions that you have so that you can bring them next time. We should go over them. So thank you for being here.